Hi, I'm Madeline from Sheen Slings, and this is my video review of the Baby Bjorn One carrier. So I'm going to start by talking you through the features of this carrier, the pros and cons, and how it compares to other carriers on the market. So I'm going to start off by showing you how I pop it on. And this carrier is quite different to a lot of its competitors and other carriers on the market. And the main way it's different is you slip it on you first and get yourself completely tightened and fitted first, and then you pop baby in and just simply clip them. And that can be a real pro for nervous parents compared to a lot of other carriers where you put it around your waist and you put you and baby in together, because particularly very nervous parents can find it a little less intimidating because carrier's already fitted and you're just worrying about baby. You don't have to worry about getting it around you. So that can be quite a pro with nervous parents, and often parents sort of can like that and find it simpler. Although conversely, I've met a lot of parents who have found it less simple. So always with ease, it's sort of a bit subjective and depends how your arms work, but definitely can be useful in that respect. But the downside to that is that in order to fit you first, and then put the baby in and bring the panel up later, we've got this internal structure, and this can be quite a big downside depending on how it fits you. So because, as you can see, it sits over breast tissue, these straps come in over boobs. Obviously for men that's not a problem, so this carrier is one that tends to fit men really well. But for women, it really depends how it is sitting on your breast tissue, whether it's putting pressure or not, whether it feels comfortable or not. And it is also worth noting that if you are breastfeeding, this is not a sling you can breastfeed in, because you can't physically move these straps once the baby's in, so you wouldn't be able to get to your boobs. And if you are breastfeeding and are prone to feeling engorged and uncomfortable at times, you could find that this carrier very uncomfortable at points when you would say feeling rather full. And then the next thing you do, once you've slipped it on over you and checked the back panel, the next thing actually I should say is you can see there's a part at the back here. This is very difficult to adjust yourself. So the first time you're using the sling, I highly recommend, once you put it on, getting someone to adjust that back panel for you and getting it set in exactly the right place. For you, because it's so hard to reach behind you. But worth getting right. Yep, it's right for me. Worth getting right, and then once you've got it right, leave it there. And if you are sharing this sling, make little markers so you can always get back to your settings and don't have to sort of struggle behind you. And then once we're comfortable with this part, I'm going to do up the waistband. Now you will notice the panel of this carrier, torso of this carrier is very, very long. So this waistband naturally seems to want to go very, very, very low. Now if I did this up down here, this is way past where I load, and it would mean that all the weight is running through my shoulders because the strap would be too low to put weight on my waist. So what I'm actually going to do is crunch the carrier to get it on my waist. So again, this is a carrier that tends to fit better people who are very tall, because then that waistband sits where it wants to naturally sit and you're not having to crunch the carrier up as much, or if at all. So again, this is a carrier that tends to work better on men than women, both because of the internal structure and also because of the physical length of the torso. There are exceptions to that. There's obviously women this fits beautifully, and there are men it doesn't fit. But as a general rule, people who are taller and flatter of chest, which tends to be men, tend to fit this carrier better. For reference, I am 5'7", and you can see how much I'm crunching that up. And I'm not short. So if you are shorter than me, you're going to be crunching this up further. Now, while it's not uncomfortable for me, if you are crunching it up more, that's going to mean more material sort of crunched up against you and baby once the carrier is done up. So if you are considering this carrier, please, please, please do try it on before you buy it and check it fits you, because this definitely is a carrier that works really well for people it fits, and can give terrible back pain and other issues for people it doesn't fit, and unfortunately just doesn't have the widest fits range. You know, I've met so many couples that have got this, bought this carrier or have been gifted this carrier, and it's so common for one to say, usually the dad to say, oh, it's brilliant, it fits me perfectly, and the mum to say, oh, it's giving me back pain, I'm getting pain here. And while there are adjustments that can be made, it's usually literally the case that nothing really can be done, it just simply doesn't fit. So please, if you can, try this on. Right, but now we've got it all done up, we're ready to go. I'm going to get my baby, and you can see at this stage it's really easy. I'm just going to sit my baby in this panel, and you'll notice there's a red zip here. I've got this as I've got a small doll on the infant setting, and there is another setting which just lets the baby sit right down into the bottom of the panel. But this infant setting allows them to sit a little bit higher, so I'm just going to sit baby into the panel, bring the panel up over them. And now I'm going to get these clips and close them. And I'll come in for the clips. You can see these clips are again quite unique to this carrier. They're called slide and release clips. You should go past and clip them on. And same on the other side. Again, the advantage of these clips is they're quite good for parents who are a bit nervous and a bit worried, because they require to undo. They require a very purposeful motion. You have to press the thing, pull forwards and release. They can't be undone absent-mindedly or while on autopilot or while you're accidentally fiddling with the carrier. They require very purposeful movements. So again, can feel very secure. They can be a bit marmitey though, because some people find them really easy and some people really, really struggle to get that alignment and to get that motion of overpassing and back in. And then the top clips work the same way, same mechanism to get them done up. And then once you're all snapped up, we can tighten up. Okay, so now while I'm here, I'm going to talk you through some of the other features of this carrier. So you can see it's got quite a wide, tall neck support. I'm obviously using this with my infant doll, and she doesn't need the head support because it would come up too high and cover her face. And on the newer models, this is a slightly older model, but on the models you'd be considering and potentially buying, there's actually a clip here that will keep this down. Annoyingly, there isn't on the older models, but that has now been fixed and you can keep this down. That would provide her with ample support, but also as she grows, we've got more flex in the carrier for her to grow taller. And you can also notice, I'm also going to draw your attention to the straps. You can see they're quite thin, fairly wide, but quite thin. So they sit quite flush and comfortably. They're not overly bulky. Likewise on the waist, not overly bulky. It's quite flush, thin. Doesn't have a tendency really to twist. Sits quite comfortably. Yeah, and the other thing I want to show you is on the waist. At the waist, again, we've got adjustments to change the width of this carrier, so we can make it narrow to fit a very tiny baby. My doll is a newborn, but she has very, very flexible legs. A new baby would be a little bit more tucked up and a bit less wide, so you could let these out, and then as they grew, you can open them incrementally to give babies the support they need as they grow, widening it just bit by bit as they grow. And again, on the newer models, you can widen the zips, and then you actually click the zip back in on itself. It's got a little locking mechanism so that it stays where it's put, and that can be quite a nice feature. So in terms of when you can use this carrier from, it is quite a big carrier. It's got quite a big panel. So while it does advertise from newborn from 3.5 kilos, in practice babies tend to fit better in this carrier from about 6 to 8 weeks old. Before that, they can just feel a little bit too small and like they're crunching down into the carrier and getting a bit lost in there. But from about 6 to 8 weeks, they tend to fit better, reasonably well. And then this carrier will grow with them. So as I've shown you, you can let out the strap, the width, you can let out the height. There's the internal panel which can come down to again let the baby sit lower into the carrier, and that allows them again to be longer. As they grow, this carrier also does the forward facing mode. And again, you do that by letting the zips onto the narrower setting and having baby the other way, but otherwise you put the carrier on exactly the same. And then in theory, as they continue to grow, in theory you can use this carrier on your back. Although it is worth saying in practice, it is a pain in the arse to get on your back. Sorry for the swear word, but it is. Because you can't undo the clip at the back, the only way to get this carrier onto your back is to put baby on your front as normal, and then sort of just walk like an Egyptian method to spin them around. And in practice, works really well with a doll, because dolls don't fuss. In practice, most babies kick off during the process and parents get very hot and flustered and don't like it. So in theory, this carrier, if you can get it onto your back and you're happy doing that, palaver, in theory this carrier will go to about 2 years of age. It's plenty big enough to fit up to a 2-year-old in. In practice, most parents just find getting it on the back too much, and consequently don't get past about a year to 16 months on because at that point baby just gets too heavy on the front, and really you need an option for the back. So yeah, this carrier will work from about 6 to 8 weeks to a year to 15 months, maybe, if you're happy getting it on your back. And that, I think, is a real clincher for me when I compare this to other carriers on the market in the same price bracket as this and offering the same things as this. So this carrier's main competitors are the Ergo Omni, the Becco 8, the Lily Baby. All of these carriers can get onto your back very easily and will go to at least 2.5 years of age, sometimes more. And some of them will fit earlier than this will, and generally will fit a wider range of parents, whereas this one, as I said, has got quite a narrow fit range, and you either sort of fit it really well or you don't. A lot of those carriers fit more parents, and you're more likely to get one of those that will fit both parents. But they're all in the same sort of price bracket. So this carrier's between £140 and £160, depending on what finish you have, compared to the other carriers I've mentioned, which are all between £125 and £160. So it is worth considering if this one is only going to last you to a year and a half, if the economics work compared to the other brands. So this has been the Baby Bjorn One. I'm Madeline from Sheen Slings, and I hope that was helpful for you.